Hello, my name's Bubbles, I'm 18 years old and I am autistic. Oh, but you don't look autistic. Hold on a minute, let me just fix that for you. Is this better now? Is this better? Yeah, sorry about not fitting your stereotypical, very limited view of autism. That's just, it's not really true. Autism is much broader and has much more variety than just being a little 9-year-old white boy screaming about trains. Saying that, I do really like trains, and that's kind of what this video is about. Like a lot of people, I'm fed up of autism being like just seen as a tragedy, and it's always focused on the negatives, and people want to cure it and don't seem to realise that it makes us who we are, and it is really bloody aggravating to see people trying to cure it and stop it from happening. It's like, congratulations, you don't want me to exist, thank you, I'm so pleased by that, it makes me want to punch you in the face. But yeah, so for once I want to focus on autistic joy, which is something that I just love because, you know, it makes me who I am and it makes me so happy. And we really need to showcase autistic joy more rather than just autistic suffering, which is what the media loves to do, and you know, really doesn't do us any favours when we're, you know, asking to be accepted, when people just think we're constantly screaming and crying all the time, which, you know, it happens, you know, that is the reality. It's not all happiness, it's, you know, there are negatives, but I'm not going to focus on that. I'm not here to tell you some distressing diagnosis story or my childhood trauma or whatever. I'm here to talk about the things that make me happy. And by that I mean, I'm going to infodump about one of my hyperfixations. What is a hyperfixation? It's basically like all you can think about for a fairly short period of time, at least for me. Special interests tend, for me, it's like that one thing that you just love and just brings you instant happiness. As you can tell, it's idols, and that's been ongoing for like a good few years now. Hyperfixations for me tend to like last like a very short period of time, but they sort of come and go, and they are really intense to the point where like you forget to eat, you forget to sleep, you forget to go to the toilet. Like, it's just, you know when you leave your sim on the Sims, you leave them fishing indefinitely and then they just die? Basically, yeah. I don't know how other people seem to hyperfixate on like a certain anime or stuff. I just start hyperfixating on bloody cars and trains, in particular a Citroen Picasso. Why do I love them? Don't get me started. This isn't about them. But also, I do hyperfixate on trains a lot, and yeah, that's what this video is about. I know that my special interest is idols and stuff, which is great, and liking trains probably goes a bit opposite to my hyper femininity and everything, but like, do you know how good categories are? They are so damn good. Anything you can categorize, anything you can label, anything you can group, it is like, oh, instant happiness to the brain. It's so good. That's basically what most special interests and hyperfixations have in common, like cars, trains, you know their categories. Idols, certain idol groups, certain songs, you know, different idols you can, you know, that's just all categories that are just really good, and I like them a lot. And yeah, so basically this video is about Big Boy, a 600-ton, the biggest steam locomotive ever created, and it's something that brings me so much comfort. It's been a hyperfixation that's sort of like reoccurring for like the past 6 months ever since I discovered it, and you know, my co-worker mentioned it, something about trains, and I just had to, it just came out. So Big Boy, yes, that is their proper name, Union Pacific Big Boy, is a series of steam locomotives and they were built between 1941 and 1944, and they are the biggest steam locomotives ever created. They were basically built for the mountains in like Wyoming and that part of America, you know, the part that's just full of nothing. They weigh 600 tons. They are nearly as long as a passenger jet, and I love them a lot. It's like my weirdest comfort. It's like, oh, look at all this pink. Also, yes, I love this massive industrial looking steam train. Yes, it's fantastic. There is currently one still in operation that was restored recently. Instead of running on coal though, it's now converted to oil. So yeah, but that's Big Boy 4014, and it is a magnificent beauty, and I'm really hoping that I'm going to be able to see it one day, because if I don't get to see it, I might cry. And you know, I maybe have a whole bucket list of train related things that I want to do. It's the autism, don't blame me. They're cool, don't judge me, they are just cool, okay? What's good about trains? Many things. There are, I think, a few big boys in museums, one of them being the notorious 4005. And this big boy is rather famous as being sort of a ghost train, because this big boy crashed and then was restored. And honestly, when you consider the crash, it's kind of a miracle that this thing survived and went on to do many more years of service. It's not in service now, but hopefully maybe they'll restore it one day if they have a few $1 million to spare. Back in 1953, Big Boy 4005 is going along in this area of Wyoming called Red Desert, and it's just like, you know, chugging along rather fast, whole load of freight in the back, including some live animals and typewriters and sewing machines, all sorts. It's just a whole load. Then further down the track, there's a farmer, and he's like, excuse me, Mr. Signalman train people, I need to get my, I don't know why he has this voice, I need to get my massive herd of sheep across this track. And they're like, oh cool, don't worry, we will flip this signal and it will let the trains further down the track know that they need to slow down, and that should allow your sheep to cross safely. And then they're like, okay, cool, I'll just go back down here. I don't know why he's Australian, it's Wyoming, but yes. And so, you know, sheep farmer's like, yeah, cool. Signalman flicks the switch, looks over there, and he's like, oh. There's Big Boy going about 50 miles an hour, and there's no way he can stop before this switch. I say he, but they're technically she's, because trains are usually she's. But anyway, Big Boy is right there, switch is right here, he can't stop. He's got 50 miles an hour, he's at 50 miles an hour, and he's about to just smash into this switch. And when you're a massive 600-ton train going 50 miles an hour into a very sharp corner, you don't survive. This massive train basically tipped over and derailed. The tender, which is the thing that holds the coal, smashes through the cab, basically kills all the crew, apart from the brakeman. Good on him, he lived for a bit. His testimony was important in discovering how this all happened. And yeah, absolute carnage. I will put the image up here. It's just a mess. There were so many carriages just strewn everywhere. The live animals are not as alive. They're also everywhere. All the merchandise, all the freight, because it was a freight train, is just everywhere. Somehow, this was the only Big Boy derailment, and yeah, not a single, it wasn't even, the engine wasn't written off, they restored it. And you know, it wasn't even the driver's fault or anything. They could have done nothing to have prevented it. Just that guy pulling the switch, they did not have time to do anything about it. They were going. And you know, it's quite tragic in that respect. You know, suddenly realising that there's nothing you can do to stop that from happening, and that you are going to derail in such a spectacular fashion. What I find probably the most fascinating about it is the fact they did restore 4005. After this horrific crash, they restored it, and it did like 20 more years of service before retiring with all the rest of the big boys. I will probably leave some links to a video explaining it a lot better than I can, because I am just going off on one, and I'll also leave a link to this article because it's horrific. It goes into all the details and it's just horrid. About when 4005 came in for its restoration, we could hear this groaning and wrenching of metal coming very slowly down the rails, being brought in behind the wrecking train. It was the big boy, and it gave you a very eerie feeling as it became visible in the old lamps of the dispatch office. Slowly it came into view, and if I ever thought I had seen a ghost, this was it. I did not know a big boy could die, but there it was, and how sad it was, just limping along like an old grey horse with one leg broken. The cab was completely gone, only the grey colour of the firebox was visible, and some of the side rods were missing, and it looked as if even the frame had been broken. It just lumbered by all us, standing there with our mouths open, not believing what we were seeing. This once huge, big, beautiful thing that was once a living machine of giant steel. It disappeared into the darkness like it came, being dragged like a person to the grave, and at the east end of the yard for temporary storage. I could almost see fireman Albers waving at me as it went past. That testimony just like makes me really emotional. I don't know. It's the thing about seeing the firemen sort of waves go past, and it's, you know, I'm really glad that they managed to restore it. Just the idea of a ghost train is so, oh, it's so creepy. Because people do say in like the steam train sort of community that they are alive, and they do have a life of their own, really, a mind of their own, you know. That's the cool thing about them, is they do have, weirdly enough, they have character and personality, because each one of them is slightly different. Even if they're modelled to the same, they're all slightly different. It's just creepy. I'm hoping I'm going to get to see one of the big boys. Fun fact, they all literally had Big Boy written on their smoke box doors. Like, how cool is that? And they're also all technically girls. I can't quite remember why, but yeah, something to do with which way something faces. They were all technically considered girls, like, mechanically. And so please support my trans Big Boy theory. He's a trans icon. I don't know how the train community is going to take that. I do not know much about the actual mechanics of a train. I just think they look cool and they bring me happiness, and I think that's the most important. I really want to get a Big Boy model. I have a shelf down there that I haven't got much on. I could make it a train shelf, and I might just do that. So yeah, do you like my new top? It's real nice. I kind of didn't cut the tag out, and it's slightly annoying me. So, but yeah, Big Boy is one of my favourite trains ever. He's like my biggest comfort. I've also done a drawing of him as a worm. Do you know how hard it is to draw a train? You don't want to draw a train. I did one once. Drew a train. This is my train drawing. It took me hours and a lot of pain and suffering. But this worm, instant joy, instant joy. Big Boy is just so cool. It just is. It's so long. 600 tons, like that's mad. Like a normal steam train might weigh literally 10 times less than that. God. Sometimes I just watch videos of Big Boy. It's just cool. I really need to learn more about them. I mean, most of all, what I know is the one crash that they had, the one derailment. Yeah. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty spot on with it's April 27th, I think. I'm pretty spot on with my Big Boy facts around that, but other than that, I'm not entirely sure. I will learn more about Big Boy, because every time I hyperfixate on him, I make another meme. Here is like my big boy memes, I will show them on the screen, yeah. This is what happens. Trains are great. Make memes. Do you know how much meme content there is? Trains are so weird. Thank you for sharing this info dump with me. I really enjoy just sitting here and talking about something that I love randomly and sort of being a bit more open about being autistic and stuff. I literally haven't stopped moving my hands the whole time. Congratulations. So thank you. Hopefully I will do another info dump on other things that I like, which would be great. Anyway, thank you for learning about our Lord and Saviour, Big Boy, the trans icon, the big boy of the dreams. He's a lot of train, real big train. It's not even a train, it's a steam engine. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more random train facts or car facts or just, I don't know, whatever takes my fancy and I decide to only think about for a week. It's real fun. I will now finish this with a little expert bit of a little children's story someone wrote. I will leave the link to it down in the comments. It was published on theverge.com. Steam engines like him used to roll the land, rolling stock from prairies to sand. Union Pacific, number 4014, hop on up and let's explore. It used to be coal that made this big boy go. It took 56,000 pounds, wouldn't you know? Now it's oil that makes his fires burn. Blow his whistle blow, his wheels churn. He's 132 feet long, boy I bet. That's almost as long as a passenger jet. £1 million, our boy is big. Running straight on the track, no zag or zig. There used to be 25 locomotives, if you can believe. Now there's just eight, so you'd better go see it. He's been through Utah, Wisconsin, Wyoming. Next stop Iowa on his Midwestern roaming. He'll be there in sun or in snow or in rain. He's the biggest boy of all. He's a lot of train. Here comes Big Boy, oh what fun. Here comes Big Boy for everyone.